everyone. Welcome to Fun Day Monday number 12. Today we are going to be working hat number 6 of our Hat Not Hate project. If you are not familiar with the Hat Not Hate project, you can go into the description box below and I will include some information about Hat Not Hate, and I will also include the link to the special video that I made giving you lots of information about the Hat Not Hate project. So today we are going to make the grit stitch hat, and the band is going to be worked in single crochets, mostly in the back loop, but I will be sure and explain how to do that. And then the body of the hat is going to be made using the grit stitch. Now I want you to really look at that. That is such a beautiful texture. And it's a very simple stitch. If you know how to do the single crochet, that will create that pattern. And I will actually have quite a bit of yarn left over in this colorway, and I'm thinking about making a baby blanket out of that. So just love that stitch. And the colorway that I used for this hat is from Yarn Inspirations, Caron Simply Soft. And it is in the colorway Saturday Blue Jeans Ombre. I hope you can see that. And it is a 4 medium weight yarn. And it is 100% acrylic. And there is 5 ounces, 141 grams, and approximately 235 yards in this skein. It is really, really soft. And then with that texture, oh my gosh, that would be a perfect blanket to snuggle up with your special someone on the couch, or just to snuggle down into the couch and watch a really good movie. So I'm excited about making that stitch into a blanket. For today's tutorial, we're going to switch up our yarn a little bit, and we're going to use Red Heart Soft Essentials. It is in the colorway Powder Blue, and it is a bulky 5-weight yarn. So it's going to give it a little bit more texture than this 4-weight does. So I'm really excited to see that worked up. And just to let you know that Saturday Blue Jeans Ombre, I purchased that at Walmart in April of this year. And it was $3.27 for the skein. So very, very pretty. Love that colorway. Very rich. And then this one, the Powder Blue, I purchased from Michaels on May 22nd of this year. And I don't know what it originally cost, but I got it on sale for $2.97. So just to show you my little technique there of keeping up with my yarn and when I got it and where I got it and how much I paid for it. So if you're ready to get started, I will meet you over at the craft table. I know I am. Here are a quick look at some of the items that you may or will need for this tutorial. To start off with, you need the yarn of your choice. The size hook that we're going to use today is a J hook or a 6mm hook. You will need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle for sewing in your ends. You may or may not want to use a row counter. It just depends on your experience and if you can keep up with the rows without one, or if you feel more comfortable using one. It is entirely up to your skill level and what you feel comfortable with. You will need some type of measuring tape, and of course you always want to start off with a little bit of lotion to keep your best tool moisturized, healthy, and hydrated. To get started, we're going to create a slip knot. And we are going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This is going to be our working foundation. Now, we do need to chain one more to use as our turning chain. And then, when you're crocheting into your foundation chain, you want to make sure that your foundation chain is staying completely straight. If it turns like this, you'll end up creating like a curly twist to your work. So you need to make sure that your foundation chain stays straight. We're then going to skip this first stitch here because that's going to count as our turning chain, and we're going to do a single crochet into the second stitch from the hook. To do a single crochet, you're going to insert under both loops, and just in case I have some new folks, I'm just going to show you. When you look at your stitches, you have what looks like, let me pull this out just a little bit. It looks like you have 3 different chains here, or not chains, but loops. You have this loop that runs here, you have this loop that's kind of in the middle, and you have this loop that's on the top. You're going to work under the top 2 loops. And if you look, those loops, when they're together, look like they create kind of a V-stitch or the bottom half of a heart. Once we work our first row, I'll be able to show you those a little bit clearer. So let's just go ahead and work our first row. So to do that single crochet, again, we're going to skip this first stitch because that's going to count as our turning chain. And we're going to take our hook and we're going to insert it under those top 2 loops. We're then going to yarn over and pull that yarn through. That now gives us 2 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both those loops. And that is a single crochet. And we're going to do that all the way across. So let's do it again. We're going to go underneath those 2 loops, yarn over and pull through. We now have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both. Make sure you keep your chain nice and straight. Don't let it twist on you. And let's do that into the next one. We're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through. All right, so let's do that for the last 5 stitches. So we'll have a total of 8 single crochets on our hook. And 2 more to go. And the last one. And now you should have 8 single crochets after your first row is completed. It's going to be a thick hat with this bulky yarn. All right, we're going to chain 1, and that's going to count as our turning chain. And turn your work. And we're going to go right into this first stitch of the turning chain, and we're going to work a single crochet, and we're going to go under both loops. Now that we've worked that foundation row, or that first row, you can really see those V's on the top. And with this bulky yarn, it shows up very nicely. Or if you want to call it the bottom half of a heart. Okay, but you can clearly see those top 2 loops that I'm referring to. All right, so let's make a single crochet into this first one. All right, so now in the next 6 stitches, we're going to work in the back loop only. Now that you can see those V's very well, you can see, I'm going to pull my hook out for just a minute, that we have this one here that's towards the front of you, because when your work is turned this way facing you, that's the one that's in the front. It's the one closest to you. That's the front loop. The one in the back here, that when your work is facing you, is farthest away from you, is the back loop. We're going to now work our single crochets into that back loop. So let me get my yarn back on the hook. And we're going to work our single crochet into this very back loop only. You do the single crochet the same way you did before under both loops, but only in that back loop. Let's do another one in the back loop. And we're going to do this all the way across, working a single crochet into that back loop until we get down to the very last stitch. When you get to the very last stitch, you're going to work a single crochet under both loops, both the front and the back loop. And this is the last one on this row in the back loop. And here we are at our very last one at the end here. So we're going to go under both the front and the back loop. See? I have both of them on my hook. And we're going to crochet or single crochet under both of those. And that completes row 2. And you can start to see with your work that it's already creating that ridged effect. So let's chain 1 for our turning chain, and we're going to turn. We're going to go right into that same stitch as the turning chain and go under both loops and work our single crochet. Then in the next 6, we're going to work our single crochet in the back loop only. And then when you get to the last stitch, which is your 8th stitch, you're going to work that single crochet under both loops again. So there you can see I've got both loops. And that completes row 3. You're going to chain 1 for your turning chain, and then you're going to turn your work. And you're going to repeat this all the way until you get to the end of row 70. When you have 70 rows, that will complete the band for your hat. So after you chain 1 and turn, you're going to single crochet into the very first stitch under both loops. You're going to single crochet in the back loop only for the next 6, which is the body of your piece here. And then you're going to single crochet under both loops in this very end, or the 8th stitch. Chain 1 for your turning chain and turn. So continue doing that until you complete row 70. So this is where it might be helpful for you to use your little stitch or row counter to keep up with what row you're on. Okay? When you get to the end of row 70, I will meet back up with you and I will show you how to put your band together, or the brim of your hat together. When you reach row 70, both on your counter and on your band, we are going to attach them together. We want to make sure that our right side is facing. Now, I did not put a stitch marker in to indicate which is my right and which is my wrong side, I am going to simply use my foundation tail to tell me if your foundation tail is on the left side, then the side showing is your right side. If your foundation tail is on the right side, then this is the wrong side facing. We want the right side to be on the outside, so the wrong side needs to be on the inside. So when you have your foundation tail on the right hand side, then this is the wrong side of your work. This is what we want on the inside, so we're going to fold them together this way so that this is the outside of our work. This is the band or the brim that will be seen when the hat is worn. And I have to just tell you, that is beautiful. I absolutely love that. So, I don't know, I might make some hats using this bulkier yarn more in the future, especially for very thick winter hats. Anyway, so we now need to assemble our brim together so it is one piece. So we're going to slide our hook back in here, tighten that back on the hook. And in order to do this, we are going to chain one. This chain one does not count as a turning chain. It's just giving us a little bit to work with, but as our starting stitch to actually start doing our weaving together. But also, if you'll notice, by creating this chain, it allows for that last loop that you had on your hook that completed that last single crochet to keep this row even, so it's completely symmetrical, rather than using this one to start weaving with, and you see how it would kind of pull it out of shape. But now that we've got this one here, it lets it make the full row there and keeps it nice in shape and even. All right, so let's go ahead and tighten our yarn back down on our hook. And we're going to come right into the stitch as if we are inserting our hook to do a single crochet. And we're now going to come join it with the same stitch on the other end. And we're going to do a slip stitch by yarning over and pulling up a loop, and then pulling that loop through the loop that was on the hook. Mine slid off my hook. And we're going to do that again. We're going to go right into the next stitch and go all the way through under the two loops. And we're going to do that with the same stitch on the other end. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull that loop through the loop on the hook. That is a slip stitch. And we're going to do this all the way across, just like that. So go ahead and do that all the way across. And then I will show you how to get started with the body of our hat doing the grit stitch. And the piece on the back side was your foundation chain. So you may have to wiggle your hook in those stitches just a little bit. And then going right into the last one. And I'm having to wiggle it in. That's my very first, it's where my slip knot was at. All right, there we go. And make that a slip stitch. All right, and then we're going to chain one to start doing the grit stitch into the hat. And I'm trying to get my yarn unsecured off that bowl. All right, so now here's my foundation tail. I'm actually going to weave that in as I go. So I'm going to put it right up against the work. And as I'm making my stitches, I'm going to work it in and secure it to the brim. So we're going to skip this very next stitch and we're going to come to the very next one, and we're going to work 2 single crochets right into that stitch. We're going to skip the next one and we're going to go to the next one, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into that one. We're going to skip the next stitch and we're going to go into the next one, and we're going to work 2 single crochets. And I've worked a good bit of that tail that was remaining in, so I'm going to go ahead and snip off what is left. And then my tail is already worked in. So I'm going to skip the next one and I'm going to go into the next stitch and work my 2 single crochets. Skip the next one, go into the next one and work 2 single crochets. And as you're going, you'll see that the rows that you are skipping are the ones that have the raised portion, and the ones that you're working in right now are the ones that are kind of the flat row in between the 2 raised rows. So you're going to continue skipping a stitch and then working 2 single crochets into the next, which again are the rows that are kind of flat and in between the 2 raised rows. And do that all the way around, and I will meet back up with you when you get to the end of round 1. So after you've made your last 2 single crochets into that last stitch before you come back to the beginning here, if you want, after you join your rounds, you can use a stitch marker if that makes you a little bit more comfortable to know exactly where the round begins and ends. If you're not comfortable, recognizing it and are afraid that you might go past it, that is entirely up to you. So to join the round, we're going to just simply go right into that first single crochet, and we are going to join it with a slip stitch, and we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip the stitch that the chain 1 is in, and we're going to go right into the next one, and we're going to work 2 single crochets. You're going to skip the next stitch and you're going to work 2 single crochets just like you did on the previous round. Skip a stitch and work 2 single crochets. And this is the grit stitch that you are working. And again, skip a stitch and work 2 single crochets. All right. And you're just going to keep doing that pattern of skipping a stitch and working 2 single crochets all the way around. When you get to the end of the round, you're going to join into the first single crochet at the beginning of the round with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then start the next round by skipping a stitch and doing 2 single crochets into the next. So you're going to keep repeating that pattern of skipping a stitch and then doing 2 single crochets into the next stitch around each round until your hat measures about 7 inches. When your hat measures about 7 inches, I will meet back up with you and we will begin doing the decreasing stitches to create the top part of your hat. So when you have your hat and the width or length of your hat is right at 7 inches, we are going to begin our decreasing rounds. And to do that, we're going to slip stitch right into that first single crochet like we have been to join the round. And we're just going to take a look at our hat a minute. Isn't this just absolutely gorgeous? So this is where we've been joining our hat. But when you take a look at it, you cannot tell. So I love that it creates this kind of invisible join, and that hat is actually very, very beautiful. All right, so let's actually start our decreasing round. So we are going to chain 1, and we are going to skip a stitch just like we have been, and we're going to go right into this one, and we're going to work 2 single crochets, and that's 1. We're going to do this a set of 4 times. Skip 1, go into the next one and work 2 single crochets, and this will be 2. Skip 1, go into the next one and work 2 single crochets. This is going to be 3. Skip 1, go into the next one and work 2 single crochets, and this is 4. Now we're going to start doing our decreasing stitches. So when we go into the next stitch, we're going to insert our hook, and we're going to make our first single crochet, and we're going to start by doing the first part of the second single crochet, but we're going to do a single crochet decrease. We're going to skip over this stitch, and we're going to go right into the next one where we would normally work 2 single crochets. We're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop that gives us 3 loops on the hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. We're going to skip this next stitch, and we're going to go right into this next one, and we're going to work 4 more sets. So there's 1, skip that one, go into the next one and work 2 single crochets, and this is going to be 2. Skip the next one, go into the next stitch and work 2 single crochets, and this will be 3. Skip the next one, go right in here and work 2 single crochets, and this is going to give us 4. We're going to work our next decreasing single crochets on the grit stitch by skipping this one. We're going to go into this one. We're going to do 1 single crochet. We're going to start the second one. We're going to skip, and we're going to come over to this next one, and we're going to insert our hook, draw up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, chain, yarn over, and pull a loop through all 3. And that's a single crochet decrease there. And we're going to keep doing that all the way around. We're going to keep skipping and doing our 2 single crochets in each row 4 times. Then on the next one, we're going to skip, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet. We're going to work half of a single crochet, and we're going to skip this stitch and complete it by working it in the next stitch, just like we have done the last 2 times. So go ahead and finish doing that all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end. So I've come back around to the beginning part right here. I have 1 stitch left, and after, let me find it here. Okay, so after doing my last decrease single crochet right here, I did a set of 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I have 1 stitch left. So it's not a scientific thing. So we're going to just end that round by working 2 single crochets in that stitch. So technically in this segment we did 5 sets instead of 4. We're going to slip stitch into that first one to join to end that round. But nonetheless, and you probably can't see it as much, but our hat is going to start closing in by doing this method. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip that first stitch and we're going to work our set of 2 single crochets. And this time we're going to do it in a series of 3 sets. So that was 1, skip a stitch. We're going to do 2 single crochets right into this one. And that's 2, skip a stitch and go right into the next one and work 2 single crochets. And that is 3. That makes our 3 sets. Now we're going to do our single crochet decrease stitch. But keeping in line with the grit stitch, we're going to skip this stitch. We're going to go into the next one and work a single crochet. We're going to start to work another single crochet. We have 2 loops on the hook. We're going to skip this one. We're going to come right over into the next one, draw up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, and we're going to complete our single crochet decrease. We're going to skip this stitch and we're going to go right into the next one and we're going to work 2 single crochets. This is going to be our first set. Skip a stitch, go in into the next one and work 2 more single crochets. This is our second set. Skip a stitch, go into the next one and work 2 single crochets. This is our third set. And now we're going to work our decrease grit stitch. We're going to skip this one. We're going to go into this one and work 1 single crochet, and then we're going to work half of a single crochet. Skip this stitch, go into the next one, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's our single crochet decrease there. All right, one more time. We're going to skip a stitch, and now they might start looking a little funny because you're going to be coming up to some that have that single crochet decrease in it. That's fine. Just make sure you're skipping one and going into the next. So skip your stitch, go into the next, and work your 2 single crochets. This is set 1. Skip a stitch, go into the next one, and work 2 single crochets. That's set 2. Skip a stitch, go into the next one and work 2 single crochets, and this is set 3. And skip the next one and we're going to work our single crochet decrease. So there's our first single crochet and we're going to work half of one, skip the stitch, go into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay? So just keep doing that all the way around to the beginning and I'll meet back up with you. So at the end of this round, I have just finished the last 3 sets of 2 single crochets after this decrease round. Then it was 1, 2, 3. And so I'm at the end here and I have 1, 2 stitches left. So I am just going to skip that one. And in this very next one, I'm just going to work 2 single crochets. And then I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet to end the round. And you can definitely start to feel, even as you're working, your hat is closing up. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip this stitch. And we're going to go right into this one. And we're going to do sets of 2 now. So after working 2 single crochet, that's 1 set, skip 1, go into the next one, work 2 single crochets, and that's set 2. So now we're going to start with our decrease stitch. So we're going to skip 1, go into the next one, work 1 single crochet, work half of a single crochet, skip a stitch, go into the next one, and continue with your single crochet decrease. Skip a stitch, go into the next one, and work 2 single crochets. This is set 1. Skip a stitch, go into the next one, and work 2 single crochets. That is set 2. We're going to skip a stitch and go into the next one, we're going to work 1 single crochet, we're going to work half of a single crochet, and we're going to skip a stitch, go into the next one, and we're going to finish with a single crochet decrease. All right, we're going to skip a stitch, go into the next one, and work 2 single crochets. That is set 1. We're going to skip a stitch, go into the next one, work 2 single crochets. That is set 2. We're going to skip a stitch, we're going to go into the next one and work 1 single crochet. We're then going to work half of one, we're going to skip a stitch, go into the next single crochet and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 to finish that single crochet decrease. All right, so just continue doing that all the way around, and I will meet you at the end of this round. When I get to the end of this round, you can see I have worked already into my very last stitch of the round, because that's the false stitch. You have to be very careful you're not working into that false stitch. I actually was able to end on a single crochet decrease, and I'm just kind of going back. But this was a single crochet decrease here. This was one set of 2 single crochets, the second set of 2 single crochets, and this was my single crochet decrease stitch. I'm going to go right into the top of the first stitch from the beginning of the round and do a slip stitch to join. I'm going to chain 1, and now this time I'm going to do 1 set of my 2 double crochet, one set of my 2 single crochets, and then I'm going to do a single crochet decrease set. So we've chained our 1, we're going to skip this stitch, we're going to work 2 single crochets right into this stitch, and now we're going to go right into the single crochet decrease. We're going to skip 1, we're going to go into the next one, work 1 single crochet, we're going to work half of a single crochet, skip a stitch, and go right into the very next one and do a single crochet decrease. We're going to skip the next stitch and go into this one and work 2 single crochets. We're going to skip this one, go into this one and work 1 single crochet. Then we're going to work a half single crochet, skip the next stitch, and complete the single crochet decrease. All right, we're going to skip the next stitch, go into the next one, and we're going to work 2 single crochets. We're going to skip the next one. In this next one, we're going to work 1 single crochet and a half single crochet. Whoops. And then we're going to skip this stitch, go in here, and finish our single crochet decrease. I apologize, my Fitbit keeps going off. All right. We're going to skip this one, and we're going to work 1 set of 2 single crochets. We're going to skip this one. We're going to go in here and work 1 single crochet. Then we're going to work half of one, skip a stitch, and we're going to go into this one and finish our single crochet decrease. We're going to skip this one, and we're going to go in here and work 1 set of 2 single crochets. We're going to skip a stitch. We're going to go into this one and we're going to work a single crochet. We're going to go right back in and work a half of a single crochet, skip a stitch, go into this one and complete our single crochet decrease. We should be getting close to our end of the round, and we are. We've got here to go. So we're going to skip a stitch. We're going to go right into this one and we're going to work 2 single crochets. We're going to skip a stitch. We're going to go right into this one and we're going to work 1 single crochet. Then we're going to go right into there again, work a half single crochet, skip that stitch, go right into this one and end with a single crochet decrease. Okay. All right, we actually have 1 stitch left, so we're going to go in there and we're just going to work our 2 single crochets. We're going to skip this false stitch right here, and we're going to go right into the first stitch from the beginning of the round and do a slip stitch to join. We're going to chain 1, and now this is all we have left for the opening. So now all we're going to do now is single crochet decreases, but we want to stay in line with the grit stitch, so this is how we're going to do it. We're going to skip our first stitch. We're going to go into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. We're going to go back in and work half a single crochet, skip the next stitch, go into the next one and pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3 to complete our single crochet decrease. We're going to do that again. We're going to skip the next stitch. We're going to go into this one and we're going to work a single crochet. We're going to go back in and work a half of a single crochet, skip 1, go into this very next one, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3, and that completes that single crochet decrease. We're going to skip this next one and we're going to go into the next one and work a single crochet, go back into the same stitch and pull up a loop to make a half of a single crochet. But to complete it, we're going to skip this next stitch, go into the next one, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And we're just going to keep doing this because as you can see now, you don't really have a beginning and an end anymore to your round. So we're just going to keep doing this, which, I mean, you can see it right here. But we're just going to keep doing those single crochet decreases until we can't go any further. So I'm going to stay on camera and work it with you. So we're going to skip this next one. We're going to come right in here and work a single crochet. Go back in to work half of a single crochet. We're going to skip a stitch and we're going to go right into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 to complete that single crochet decrease. Skip the next one, go into this one, work a single crochet, go back into that same stitch and work a half single crochet, skip a stitch, go into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. And we're just going to keep doing that same thing all the way around. Skip, 1 single crochet, half of a single crochet, skip, and then complete the single crochet decrease. Skip, 1 single crochet, go back in to work a half of a single crochet, skip, go into the next one, pull up your loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 to finish that decrease. And just keep going. Skip 1, work a single crochet, half of a single, skip, go in here and finish your decrease. All right, skip to the next one, go in, work a single, work a half, skip a stitch, go to the next one and finish with that decrease stitch. Skip 1, go in and work a single crochet, go back in and work half, skip, go to the next one, finish your decrease. Again, I apologize, my Fitbit keeps going off. I'm trying to drink a lot of water and it's just a water reminder, so I apologize. All right, and let's see if we can do a couple more. So we're going to skip, and work a single crochet, go back in there for half a single crochet, skip one, and do a decrease. And let's see. All right, so our hole is pretty much closed up right there. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little bit of a tail. That may be way more than I actually need, but we'll see. So I'm going to chain one and pull that all the way through. And I guess because this is a bulkier yarn, it kind of gave it a little bit of a textured shape at the top, as you can see. And what I mean is it gave it more of this little swooshy swoosh at the top, which is fine. I still like it. That is a gorgeous hat. Trying to lay it flat so you can still kind of see it. There we go. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. Grab my yarn needle. And I'm going to put my needle right down the center of my hat, pull it through, and then I'm going to turn my hat wrong side out because I want to do all my weaving on the wrong side, the side that will be up against the head. And then I'm going to come back. And we did pretty good closing in that hole. So we don't really have to close in the hole. So all I'm going to do is just kind of run my my needle right underneath the top of some of those stitches. And I'm going to do it going in around. So I'm kind of going around the top part of the hat. And just giving it a slight tug as I do that. I'm going to do it just a couple more times. I'm just about coming right back around to where I started. And now I'm just going to give it a slight pull so that it just completely closes that center part right there in. Right here. That's our center. I don't know if you can tell. I got it kind of up close. And that's like as if I had created the magic ring, what the magic ring would do. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm just going to simply go back through a couple loops and create my knot just to kind of secure it down. And now I'm just going to simply weave my tail in to a couple pieces of the yarn just to secure my tail in. And I love how these little guys just kind of form these natural little loops when you go kind of down at the angle. So I'm just going to follow them. And then I'm going to skip this one and just kind of go right back up. Let me turn this so I can see it better. And I'm just going to go right back up to secure that tail in. And trim off my tail. Turn it back. And here is our grit stitch hat. Now I am going to guess that it's because this is a bulkier type of yarn that where we were decreasing, that's what's kind of creating this little bulge effect. But nonetheless, that's going to look cute on the head. So I'm going to go get my mannequin and put it on there so we can kind of take a look at what it looks like on the mannequin. So here is our little mannequin modeling our new hat for us. So let's just turn her so you can see all the way around. I love that cute little spirally look that it gave it. And that looks very nice. And it is a very nice and thick, heavy hat. And it kind of makes me feel like a hat that you would take if you were going to go skiing. And we thank our little mannequin there for helping us model this hat. But speaking of like a ski hat, I decided what would make this hat even better, since it is so nice and bulky and it's thick and warm, seeing that that was a bulky weight yarn. What if we were to put a pom-pom? Now, before I have shown you videos on how to make pom-poms, and then we have attached some of our pom-poms even to our hats, but we made them. This is one of those faux fur pom-poms that you can get from Michael's or Joann's or any of your craft stores, Hobby Lobby. And so we're going to go ahead and attach this to this hat and give it a final look. They come with these little rubber bands that are already attached to them. I am actually going to cut this little tag off because no one wants to wear their hat and pom-pom with this tag attached. But I want to make sure that I'm cutting only the tag and not the fur. All right. And I'm going to show you how to attach this pom-pom. So let's put this to the side for the moment. And I'm going to get this piece of yarn, and it's a long piece. We may not need it that long, but we'll see when we're done. But I'm going to take it and I'm going to grab my yarn needle and I'm going to slide my yarn needle on here. And I'm going to pull it so that it is even. So let me grab my two ends here. And since this little end right here is fraying just a little bit, let's just go ahead and trim it. And then we're going to pull this just like this so it's on there nice and even. And then there's a soft squishy ball that's like inside our little faux fur. And so I'm going to take it, so I'm holding it on my finger so I know that that's like the center of it. And then just right underneath here, I'm just going to push this needle through it so that I'm pulling my yarn all the way through and just kind of work that to come out the other side, kind of like that. And when I have it, I'm going to hold my yarns and I'm going to pull it. Take my yarn needle off. And I'm going to even my yarn back out. And you could have just done one strand instead of two at the time, but all right. And then I'm going to grab this button, okay? Well, first, before I get the button on, I'm going to grab my crochet hook and I'm going to come up through the hat and find my center hole. I'm then going to come and grab both strands of that yarn and I'm going to pull it through like that. And I'm going to pull my pom-pom as tight as I can to see what it looks like. And that looks good. But another thing I want to do is I want that rubber band to come down in here too. Just like that. Now, you can do this two ways. You can take and you can sew the button on and then not even use the yarns at all. Let's just imagine that the yarns are not even there. And you can take the rubber band and you can wrap it around the button and secure your pom-pom on that way. And that way you just pop it off and wash the hat. You know, the button can go through the wash. Or you can do it the way I am doing it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull one of my yarns through the rubber band. And then I'm going to get my yarn needle again. And you want to make sure that your yarn needle can go through your button. Now, even though there's 4 buttonholes on this button, we're only going to use 2. All right, and then release the needle from that. And then come grab this one. You want to make sure it's on the outside of that rubber band. And we're going to put it through another one of the holes. And now take the yarn needle off. It doesn't want to let go. All right. And now, if you want, you can then take your rubber band and you can let it go around the button. And then we're going to take our yarn here and I'm going to wrap it twice. And then I'm just going to pull it down and secure it really, really tight. And then I'm just going to tie a bow like so. And then I'm going to take my yarn and snip. And then there you go. There's your pom-pom. And again, you can not even use the yarn the way I did. Of course, you would just pull your bow to untie it and remove everything to wash. But you don't even have to use the yarn. You can just sew your button on, put your rubber band over your button, and then you're good to go. So let's invite our little mannequin model back to model our hat with the pom-pom on it. That is so cute. I love that. Well, this is our tutorial for the Grit Stitch hat. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you did, be sure and go give it a thumbs up. And then hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future tutorials or videos. And I look forward to meeting with you next Monday as we work on our 7th and final hat for the Hat Not Hate project. So until then, be joyful, stay crafty in your own way, and go make your own joyful creations. Bye.